Good afternoon. I'm going to go over the watch list for the week of August 3rd. If you're not in the room, you should be. The link is in the description. Should be a good week. We'll start with the bullish side first. First on the list is BA. I've been watching BA since Friday. BA's been beaten down so much that I think that it's going to have a violent reversal. I thought it was actually going to be Friday, but it wasn't. I think it might be this week. Because you get like if you look, you can see there's a falling wedge on the 30-minute and the hourly on the left and middle, and you can usually when there's a falling wedge is a reversal to the upside. Plus on the weekly, if you look at the weekly, it popped up out of this little symmetrical triangle on the weekly and came back, and it's retesting it. So usually that's a good sign of a reversal or a possible reversal. I shouldn't say it's a definite, but BA could certainly keep going down to 130. But with the rising wedge right here, I think there's gonna be at least some kind of dead cat bounce to at least anything over 160. 160. I think it's gonna push to at least 165, even 170. I think 170 will be the key area. If it can break over that, I think it won't go to 175. So BA, this could be the week that it has a reversal. So I would keep that on watch. Now I have URI, United Rentals. Now, it did pop a little bit at the end of the day of Friday. I mean, almost everything popped at the end of the day of Friday because of it. But if you look at the, it's got like a rising, ascending wedge right here, and on the daily. Then if you look on the weekly, you got like a big cup and handle right here. And if I blow it up a little more, you get there's a ascending triangle right there. If it breaks out of that, it could be a nice big push for URI. Now, the earnings looks like they did good on the earnings, so I could see some continuation, even though it did drop after earnings. So, I mean, a lot of stocks are bloated, so the EPS probably just didn't match up with the current price, so it just dumped a little bit. So I would watch it over 156 for a push to 158. If it gets to 158, probably could see 160, even 162 on the 30-minute, and on the hourly, it's got room to the RCT trend line. As you can see, I made a video for the members. If you're not a member, you're missing out. But anyways, the RCT trend line acts as a magnet. When the price gets too far away from it, it pulls price action to it, whether it's below or above. So I always watch that when it's a big disconnect. So it's got room on the hourly to get to 163 if it decides to keep going on a reversal. So I would watch URI. I'm not quite sure how the options are. I haven't looked at it in a while. The spreads might be bad. It might be off the table because of that, but whatever. Just if you want to play it, it's there. NVDA, it's close to all-time highs again. It's all-time highs. So if it gets over the 426 area, it's probably going to retest the 431.69 all-time high and probably push to 435 plus. Now the ES futures are down like $3, which is nothing. Plus, if it's down now, it could be green by morning. So you can never count in the futures price action for a gap down or a gap up the night before, because when we had earnings last Thursday, ES was up quite a bit. SPY was up, gapped up like $3, and by the time morning came, it was pretty much flat. So you just cannot be too cautious with the overnight futures, because it doesn't really mean anything until morning. So, and then the other day last week that the futures were up, and then Donald Trump made a tweet, and it sunk the market like at 8:30 in the morning. So anything can happen. So, but like I said, I would watch for a push to all-time high on NVIDIA. Target is another one. TGT. Now, as you can see, it's right at this 126 level. It gets over 126. The all-time high is 130 on the weekly. It does break out over that 126. I would watch for a push to 130, and if it gets to 130, it's probably going to break out. So I would definitely watch Target for a move up if the market is strong. Lululemon is another one, LU. And the reason I like that, I mean, first of all, on the daily, it closed above the middle Celt, and let's see, the weekly looks pretty good too. You can see the weekly, it's kind of curling back up. So anything over the 327, watch for a push to 337, and that breaks out. It's probably going to end up going to 340. So I would watch Lululemon for a push to 340. Win is another one. Now, let me get back to the daily. Now, it did close above the RCT trend line and the lower Keltner channel on the daily, and it's got all those little inside candles on the 30 minute and the hourly, which could end up going lower, but if it does get higher, I would like it over 73 for a pushback up to 75, even to the 78 area again. So I think we could see a reversal on that. Now I also realize the daily, there's a lot of support at the 69 area. You can even say 70 if you want to say 70. You get the support here, then you get the RCT trend line. It could drop a little bit before popping. So, and it is a descending triangle, if you want to call it that, right there. You have head and shoulders right there too. So it's cautious that there is a daily pattern of head and shoulders. I mean, it could go lower, and if it does, I would watch for that too. But if it does, I would watch it underneath 71. I really would like to see it push back up. I don't see anything happening with the casinos or anything. I thought we would have seen that a couple weeks ago, but we haven't. We'll just have to see how this week goes. I just remember there's conflicting patterns. You get a head and shoulders on the daily, then you get like a ascending wedge on the hourly. So we'll just have to see which one plays out. Either way, we could end up playing both sides of that. Just remember it's there. Then we get Triple M. Now Triple M's been beaten down after earnings. As you can see, 4 red days after earnings, and it's starting to curl right back up on the 1 hour. So if it does get over 151, watch for push to at least the 20 EMA in the middle Celt, which is 152. And if it does manage to break that, watch for push to 154, then to 156. Now the RCT trend line on the hourly is straight right in the middle. So there is a pretty decent disconnect between the price action and that, just like you saw over here. It got pulled up to it, so I would definitely keep an eye on that. Another one is GS, Goldman Sachs. On the daily, I mean, it's holding this 196 area on the daily, and it is above the RCT trend line, which is flat. So if it does manage to bounce in this area, I would watch over 199 for a push to 200. 200 is going to be a big psychological number. It might find some resistance there, like it has before it dropped down on the hourly, came back to 200, then rejected. If it does get to 200 and then stalls out, this is probably a good chance it's probably going to break out this time. So, and fill the gap to the 202, 203 area, and probably get to 205. So Goldman Sachs is setting up for a possible reversal. If it doesn't happen, oh well, I'm not going to be interested in it if it doesn't. CAT is another one, CAT. Now I know it's below the middle Celt on the daily, and it's got room down to the 127 area, but I do like the ascending triangle or wedge on the 30 minute and the hourly, so I would watch a breakout over 130, 133 or even 133.50 for a push to 135 to 136, and even get into the 140s. There's a gap up here too from a couple days ago. So actually no, from Friday. So look for that to possibly fill if the market's strong. Now on the bearish side, I have obviously I'm still holding QCOM puts for this Friday. I rolled them out. Now you can see on the hourly and on the 30 minutes, there's a descending wedge. So under 10, if you're not in it and you want to get in it, we'll get in it underneath 104 for a push down to the 101 area, which would be a gap support. And if there's any bad news or market's really going into a sell-off, then watch for a possible gap fill, which has a huge gap. I'm sure that it will probably fill. Let me take it out a couple years. Historically, when it has a big gap up, it does fill shortly after on earnings. It did there, it did here. So I might have timed it a little too early, and if that is the case, I'll play it again for next week too. I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen this week or next week. So QCOM is definitely one I'd watch. Facebook, I know some of the ones I picked the bear side are going to actually had good earnings, but I'm just going to play the gap up, and it's outside the Kellner channel on the daily. Anytime it pokes out above the Kellner channel on the daily, it likes to come back down, and you can see the price action and the gap up is a big disconnect. So even though I had strong earnings, that people like to take profits. Usually they do on Fridays and don't hold over the weekend. But if there's a market sell-off, it will take Facebook down with it. So I would watch it underneath 251 for gap support at 249. If it does manage to sell off the market or Facebook, that I would watch for a gap fill, which is the gap is pretty big, which is from 249 to 235. So I mean, that's a $14 gap fill. It may not fill in a day, but it could definitely fill in a couple of days if there's any weakness. In Apple, same thing. I know that a lot of people, everyone is very bullish on Apple, and they had a big beat, but I think it's going to come back down and at least retest this 411 on the hourly. So I don't know if it'll do a gap fill right away, but I think it could pull back. I mean, it's way outside the Kellner channel on the daily, and pretty overextended. I mean, the RSI on the hourly was 89. So I would watch for a little bit of a pullback under 420, and for a push down to the 410 area on Apple. And Apple could keep going. Apple just is Apple. I mean, it can just keep going and going and going. So that could be kind of a risky one to play. Roku has earnings this week. Has it on 5th, which is I think Wednesday after hours. So I probably won't touch it until after earnings, because it'll probably be choppy, and the options will be very, very expensive. Now, Roku has just been sitting in this little channel right here from 160 to 150. I would imagine that it's going to stay choppy in that area for a little while until earnings. Now, I have no idea what to expect from earnings. I'm thinking it's probably not going to do well, and it's probably going to drop. So I mean, I could be wrong, but I will be looking for a play on Roku as an earnings reaction on after ER. So I would probably be looking more on a bearish side. If it does manage to beat earnings, I would probably look for a sell-off at open if it's the gap up's really huge, like we saw on Netflix. Well, no, Netflix. I can't remember. I can't think straight. Amazon. Now the next one is Shaq. Now Shaq, we had Friday. Shaq did terrible on their earnings. They do have like a little bit of a bear flag on the 30-minute on the hourly. Now it did manage to close right below the RCT trend line. It's at the lower Kel. Now the thing I looked at that I thought was interesting is when Shaq has a bad ER, it sells off for a couple days afterwards. So I would watch for more continuation on Shaq on the downside underneath 48. If it gets under 48, probably going to see 45, 46 area, then even down to the 40s. So I think that we should see more downside on Shaq. So Tesla is the next one. I know a lot of people like to trade Tesla, but you get a descending wedge on the hourly, on the daily, and if it does get below this 1400 area, I think that we'll see a gap fill in the 1230 area, but we'll have some support right down here at 1352. It does manage to break that. I think it's going to fill the gap, and if that keeps going down, I mean, we could see it fill a gap down to 1134 on the daily. So Tesla's up so much. It's just, I don't think it belongs up there, but that's just my opinion. I think we could see 1200 on that on Tesla. So BABA is the next one. Now BABA, we have all this little drama going on with Trump and TikTok and China companies and stuff like that. So he wants to shut down TikTok, and then I saw something today where China had arrest warrants for U.S. citizens or a U.S. citizen. So things are starting to get very heated between the U.S. and China, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse between Hong Kong and Taiwan and other trade war and other stuff going on between U.S. and China. So the China stocks could take a hit this week on anything bad news related. Baba, Baidu, and I can't think of other Chinese mega caps off the top of my head. But I would definitely keep an eye on Baba underneath 248 for a push to the I would even say 240 area, because you get a gap right here on the hourly that needs to fill it below the 238. So if it does manage to get underneath 248, I would watch for at least 238 for the gap fill. Then there's a bigger gap fill on the daily down to 223. So it is a symmetrical triangle right here on the daily and the hourly, and I hate those things because you don't know which direction it's going to go. It's literally a coin toss, and that's why I hate them. But if you look at the daily, weekly, you can make the case that it's a descending triangle on the weekly. So that's why I would lean more on the bearish side. Plus, with all the drama between the U.S. and China, I'd watch for that this week. Next one is Netflix. Now, I was talking about Netflix just a few minutes ago about the ER. They had bad earnings, and I still can't believe it's up even over 400 still after the earnings they had. So, but I would definitely keep an eye on it underneath the 478 area for a push down to 467 to 450. If it does manage to get below the 450 area, I would look for next area would probably be around 435 to 425. If it does, we have a big sell-off, but that will depend on what the market's going to do this weekend and if we have any more bad news. If the market's going to go up, Netflix is probably going to go with it, but we'll have to see. Now that's going to do it for the bearish side. I have a Clorox. They have ER, and it's kind of going to be an ER play, and I might alert it in the room. I'm not quite sure. I'm still thinking about it, but I would imagine Clorox is going to have probably a really good earnings because of the COVID-19, and the stock's been going crazy. It could be already priced in with the hype it's had, and just so I might do a strangle on Clorox when it has earnings, which is let me see really quick. I should have wrote that down before I. Yeah, let's see. Clorox is. Hold on, I'm still looking. Guess I should have just. NASDAQ site's terrible. They used to tell you when the earnings was, and they don't anymore. August 3rd, so it's going to be tomorrow. Let's see if it's after hours or not. I'll post it in the room anyways. I'll have to look more into it. I can't see because But that's going to do it for the watch list. So obviously, if it's Clorox is in the morning, I can't do a strangle on it because I think it's after hours tomorrow. So I'll have to look more into it. But that's going to do it for the watch list. Thanks for watching.